This area, it feels wrong somehow. I sense an old suffering.
Members of the local coven were persecuted here. And worse.
Witches?
Salem's history with witches may have been distorted over the years, but some things are true. The witches of Salem did their best to thwart Shaw, but he rallied his congregation against them. The catalyst of the infamous Salem witch trials. When the coven called out in distress, it was Lilith and Sarah who came to their aid.
Caretaker and my mother knew their powers could help others, and they did not hesitate.
Of course not, dear. Your mother was a gifted healer, and Sarah was never one to back down from a fight. They also knew the signs of Chthon's influence, and Shaw's sudden rise to power undoubtedly got their attention.
Chthon's corruption had taken root in the New World, just like the colonists themselves.
And while Lilith and Sarah were still preoccupied in Transia, they entrusted one of the moon seals to the Knights of Wondergore, who brought it to the Coven with the hope that its power would reinforce them enough to deal with Shaw.
But that is not what happened.
Unfortunately, no. When the plague came to Salem, the same one that afflicted your father, Shaw used it to further agitate his flock by placing the blame squarely on the Coven.
And the witches?
The mob was vicious. And the rest is history.
But what about the moon seal?
After the trials, the moon seal vanished along with Shaw. Without drawing any conclusions, I think we can both guess where it went.
If this was his church, then it is possible the seal is still here, or somewhere nearby.
You read my mind. Good hunting, dear.
Was this always here? I may have forgotten a few things, but I feel as if I would remember a decrepit church on the grounds.
You may not remember the structure, but maybe you've heard of the man responsible for it? Hiram Shaw? This was his house of worship, and like a great many things on the grounds, Sarah preferred to keep it in a sort of mystic quarantine. Even I haven't been inside.
Is that all she did while I slept? Seal things off for our protection?
She can be overzealous at times, but in this case, she was right to be wary.
So what dark secret does this place hold?
When Hiram Shaw first came to Salem, he was little more than a charlatan posing as a preacher. He managed to convince a few desperate souls to join his congregation, and with their help, he broke ground on this church. Whether it was coincidence or fate, in digging beneath the church, Shaw found something that would change the course of all of our lives. A long-forgotten page of the Darkhold.
If Shaw found a page of the Darkhold, it was because Chthon wanted it that way.
I tend to agree. That cursed book is always seeking out a way to return its master to power.
And a power-hungry preacher makes for the ideal messenger of darkness.
Yes, Shaw was an eager study, consumed almost immediately by the whisperings of Chthon and the Darkhold's power. Nearly overnight, the people of Salem, old and new, were at his threshold, waiting for the word.
There must not be anything here. Tell me about Hiram Shaw.
By all accounts, Hiram Shaw was a desperate man. Desperate for power, wealth, influence, the usual desires that cloud men's minds. As I understand it, he was a largely unsuccessful minister before his arrival at Salem, traveling from place to place, swindling whatever followers he managed to gain before being run out of town. To think that a simple man like Shaw finding a piece of the Darkhold was enough to set all of this in motion, it puts things in perspective.
What do you know about my father?
That's not an easy question, dear. What would you like to know? Was he a good man? Yes, I think he was. Your mother loved him dearly, and he doted over her. I think for a time she forgot who she was, where she came from. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. She and Sarah both deserve to find something more than just another fight with Chthon. Lilith did. Sarah didn't. At least, not for a while longer still. I honestly think that's the only thing she ever had against him, blood or not. Until we speak again.
The goddess must be busy. Autumn does not answer.
We're in a war for the very soul of our world, Hunter. Sentimentality gets us killed.
Yes, dear? We should investigate Hiram Shaw's church. There may be clues as to the whereabouts of the moon seal given to the Salem Coven. Hunter?
You were there? At the witch trials?
Not initially, no. If I had been, I like to think I could have stopped them. Before it was too late. I sensed something was wrong. And when the witches cried out in distress, I came to Salem as quickly as I could.
But Shaw had already committed his crimes against them?
Yes. It was a devastating discovery. And for the longest time, I blamed myself.
But you see now it was not your fault.
I've come to understand that we must accept the past and move on. But that doesn't mean I won't always carry that pain with me.
I know that feeling all too well.
I know. And I wish you didn't, dear. I really do.
Who were the Knights of Wundagore?
Another mysterious group of heroes in a world full of mysterious groups. Of course, I'm no expert on transient history. I do know that the Knights of Wondergore were formed as a response to the growing threat of Chthon's influence near the mountain.
What exactly did they do?
Hydra was hardly the first to dabble in chthonic schemes. Many have tried and failed to awaken the Dark God. Over the centuries, the Knights fought alongside a number of allies who stood against the various crazed worshippers of Chthon.
What was Caretaker like when she was younger?
I'm sure it's difficult to remember now, but Sarah wasn't always the steadfast contrarian. In our younger days, she was much more enthusiastic about dashing off to save the day, not unlike some of our younger allies among the Suns.
That does not sound like the Caretaker we know and love.
Keep in mind, Hunter, Sarah has faced a great deal of loss in her time here. Everyone she ever cared about, in fact. I would say she's earned the right to be disagreeable, at the very least. She is a very strong woman. I'm not sure I would have held up as well given the same circumstances.
What do you know about Transia?
Transia is your ancestral homeland, Hunter. The birthplace of Lilith and Caretaker. It has always been a sort of magical junction, drawing in every type of occultist, sorcerer, and even the occasional elder god. The Abbey grounds still behave in much the same way, even after all this time.
And Wondergore?
Wondergore Mountain has always played a prominent role in whatever scheme was underway. Chthon himself is said to have created the Darkhold, deep within the caverns of the mountain.
What can you tell me about Chthon?
One of the first Elder Gods, Chthon is said to have existed for tens of millions of years, well before the dawn of humanity on Earth. Believe it or not, he wasn't always the bastion of evil that we know today.
This story sounds familiar.
As the legend goes, the downfall of the old gods was actually brought upon by Chthon's brother Set, who found that by consuming his siblings, he could gain their power. After Set consumed Hypus, Chthon followed suit with the others, and in this way, many of the first gods also became the first demons.
And how did he come to be imprisoned on Earth?
In the same way Hydra has worked to restore Lilith, various cultists of the past sought to revive Chthon to wield his power. When Chthon failed to cooperate, these same cultists did the only thing they could. They locked him away again.
I have heard that Wanda's power comes from Chthon.
The way I understand it, as a child, Wanda and her family lived in Transia, not far from Mount Wondergore. Within that mountain, the Dark God Chthon had long been imprisoned, his corruptive influence an ongoing threat to the people of Transia.
And Wanda was affected?
Whether Chthon reached out to Wanda, or he found her by chance, I can't say. But Wanda was blessed or cursed by Chthon, touched by the power of chaos magic. While he had hoped to make her some sort of acolyte, she proved to be more capable than even he foresaw. Goodbye, for now. Feeling well today, dear? You know where to find me, Hunter.
In battle, we must make sacrifice.
Why are we moping around? Let's get out there and avenge the Avengers Tower. It doesn't really matter what Tony could have done. We must live with it. Let's be real. We all know what's going to happen with Banner and Lilith, and it rhymes with the word
afflicted. Don't worry, dear. I am here for you. It pains me to see you so angry with me.
As it pains me to lose a valued friend.
Bruce will be pleased to know you feel as such. He appreciates your companionship as well.
You misunderstand me. I do not miss Dr. Banner. I mourn him. Yet another soul fallen to your twisted call.
More lies taught you by Sarah and her pet witch. I do not compel Dr. Banner. I released him. Released him from the shackles of those who've sought to control him his entire life. Such a unique mind, such a powerful soul, held in check for so long by his lesser. I cannot help but see the similarity to you, precious child. Will you not allow me to help you achieve the same? To find a true purpose, achieve peace.
I will only know peace upon your death.
And I would happily die for you, if it would truly give you that.
I am sure.
But we both know it is far more complicated than that. My sister has raised you to be a weapon. Tricked you into believing that's all you are, all you want to be. I am here to show you you are more than that. When the time comes, you will stand by my side, freely. I would never have it otherwise.
And I thought I was the one who was dreaming.
You have been asleep far too long, child. You must pierce the veil of their false prophecy and... wake up!
I will never get used to that.
I don't freaking believe this. Wanda falls and everyone's like, oh freaking well, she was kind of messed up anyway, move on. But their golden boy Banner betrays them and they all fall apart.
No! Oh, and you were so close to knocking that gorilla off its platform. flamethrower more hardcore than the ones they come out with today?
Yeah, but isn't there such thing as too hard?
Hey, can I ask a favor? Thanks, Hunter.
The Avengers only care about
What's up, Hunter?
Mind if I join you?
Please do. Do you ever feel, I don't know, out of place?
What do you mean?
I mean that we're living with the Avengers.
So?
So, I'm the guy who stops bag snatchers and ATM thieves. Each one of them saved the whole world like 5 times.
You earned a place here when you led Venom around New York City. The Avengers? They just showed up.
Mind if I keep you around for ego-boosting purposes?
You know where I live.
Thanks. I just needed to get that off my chest.
Anytime.